Welcome back to another episode of Chair Shots and Chit Chats, where we talk everything WWE. As you can see, my co-host CE is not here, but I myself am Paco. Today we're going to talk about a couple of different things, so let's get to it. Before we start, I did want to kind of do a social experiment. If you can comment down below where you fell off. I know this is an episode where it's just me, so I'm not going to have any banter back and forth. So just put a timestamp down there where you kind of fell off or you started losing interest. Like that, it lets us know what it is that we should be talking about less of or talking about more of. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button if you like the content that you're watching. But let's move on to one of those NXT stars, two of those NXT stars that are now making waves in Raw and in the WWE. So now we move on to the next generation, next build NXT TM, the Paul Heyman Foundation, the individuals who are making, not making a name, but making sure that their name is a household name. Seth Rollins, Bron Breakker, and Paul Heyman. I have, if you have seen any of the previous episodes, I have a lot of opinions on this. I have a lot of opinions on who the third person is going to be. And after yesterday's Raw episode, it looks like they might have a third person coming up. I have an idea on who I think it could be. I have a prediction on who I want it to be. But before I go into that, I want to talk about somewhat the pros and cons into having a new faction, because this is what it is, a new faction. And one of the cons into having this new faction be so predominant in wrestling television, in WWE TV. So we'll go over the pros first. The pros is you're going to be able to develop new talent. Develop new talent in Bron Breakker, and hopefully develop new talent in whoever else becomes a individual within this faction. Who do I think is going to be in this faction? I have said from day one that I think Karrion Kross is going to be in this new faction. The main reason being is every faction, to my memory, has the big guy, the muscle, the brains, and the crazy. And I don't see anybody other to be the crazy other than Karrion Kross. Nobody else in this roster shows me that they have that mentality at this point. A lot of people have been talking about having Austin Theory in this faction, and maybe I'm just biased, but I do not buy into the Austin Theory. I don't buy that. I don't buy that, and I don't buy him. His character, it's a knockoff John Cena. That's how I see it. And I would not be happy to see him in this new faction. He doesn't need to be in it. He would be a great heel. I'm not saying that he wouldn't be. But right now, everything they're doing with Karrion Kross and having him give reading between the lines sayings, like choose the right option, like the conversations that he's had with Sami Zayn, give me that he is choosing to go down the path of least resistance, and the path of least resistance is going and joining Seth Rollins and Bron Breakker. Now, he, to my knowledge, would be the first individual in this group that would not be a Paul Heyman guy, and there might be some clashing because he comes with his wife. That is just my opinion and some things that have been pointed out to me. But moving on, what can we do if we're developing new talent like Bron Breakker? We have to feed him individuals. If we feed him individuals, there have to be individuals who are going to give him good matches, who he's going to have to beat, who he's going to need to beat That being said, he would need to have individuals who are coming up in the company who can develop their skills and show that they are good individuals to be. And this will inevitably not only elevate him, but elevate that talent himself. So another pro is that you're going to be elevating the current talent that you have right now by having them go against individuals like Bron Breakker and whoever it is that they have joining this new faction. Two main cons that I see with this faction. Let's start with the main one, which is a controversial topic, so let me know what you think. The main con I see with this new faction right now is Paul Heyman. Not because he's not a good performer. We know he's a good performer. We know he's the GOAT on the mic. But there is an over-reliance in the WWE right now in Paul Heyman. There's an over-reliance in this faction in Paul Heyman, in him being the mouthpiece for this faction. You don't need Paul Heyman. You don't need him to be your mouthpiece because you have Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is amazing on the mic. And if you want to develop mic skills, you have to get the mic to Bron Breakker. How are you going to want to develop the talent that you have right now in Bron Breakker if you're not going to give him the mic? Have Bron Breakker be the disciple to Seth Rollins. So Seth Rollins can take that mentorship role that he obviously has in this faction, that he obviously has in this company, he obviously has as in a locker room leadership perspective, and actually, hey, critique him in the way that he needs to be critiqued on air, so that it's an obvious big brother relationship. It builds the relationship between Bron Breakker and Seth Rollins. It elevates Bron Breakker in being able to develop his skills, whether in the ring, which is already amazing in ring skills, or on the mic. Paul Heyman is not necessary. Which leads me to the idea of maybe us seeing a Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman betrayal. Seth Rollins already debunked the fact that you cannot trust Paul Heyman. Not that you really need to debunk that because he is the biggest snake in the industry. But Paul Heyman already betrayed his best friend, already betrayed the head of the table. He knows he being Seth Rollins is able to see past this. We saw this in yesterday's Raw, where he told Paul Heyman, go to the ring, antagonize Jey Uso, make sure that make sure that it's his idea. It is his idea to go against me. Say this, and this. You're gonna get in his head, so much so that he's gonna pick a fight with me. And it worked. The storyline is that this was not Paul Heyman's idea. This was Seth Rollins' idea. Seth Rollins does not need Paul Heyman. Seth Rollins is using Paul Heyman as a pawn. And if that's how you're going to use him, then that's great. But at a certain point, every pawn has to be sacrificed. I say, do it sooner rather than later, and let him go. You can team him back up with CM Punk if you really want to. It is not necessary. You can team him back up with Roman Reigns, which is not necessary. You can team him back with anybody else, which all that does is just add the Paul Heyman name behind him. But all Paul Heyman is attaching himself to the new unwrapped pretty toy that has not been used. for that reason, it makes Paul Heyman look more of a skee ball. So find the newest talent that put him with Austin Theory. Have him be developed with Paul Heyman. But the over-reliance on Paul Heyman right now within the WWE, it has worked tremendously. At a certain point, it's going to get old. And get rid of him before it does. And bring him back whenever he's missed. In the meantime, find a way to let him go. The other con that I see is in the faction itself. And having a faction, having another faction within the WWE. You had an amazing faction with the New Day. You had an amazing faction with the Judgment Day. Now, if you name this faction the next day, I am going to pull my hair out. All that to say, it's just another faction, and the WWE's reliance on factions right now is unnecessary. It helps build new talent. But it also makes it feel like the only way to get star talent over is by having them be in a heel group and there is little ways for individual talent who hasn't been in a faction as babyfaces to get over. Let's look at baby faces right now. We have Jey Uso. Used to be in a faction. We have Cody Rhodes, who is not new talent. We have CM Punk, who is my absolute favorite wrestler. But at least the way that I see it right now is he's being utilized to develop talent, to develop new talent. And he is being protected in the way that he loses. But the more that he loses, whether protected or not, it's going to make it feel less and less plausible for him to actually win a match. We have Sheamus, who just came back. I know I'm missing a bunch, but this is just the top talent that I can think of. I wouldn't even call Sheamus top talent right now. But then let's look at top heel talent, and we'll see that all of them came from factions. Roman Reigns has two factions, two heel factions that he has in the Shield and the Bloodline. Jey Uso, which happens to be a babyface, is coming from the Bloodline. We have the new Judgment Day, and we have the old Judgment Day. All those are heel groups. We have the new Bloodline, which is all heels. I cannot think of another top tier. Gunther, maybe? Gunther hasn't been in... Oh, Gunther was in a faction too. But now he's individual. I guess my point in saying this is there has to be a way for us to be able to build talent the good old-fashioned way, where they just get over themselves without having to be in a group, without having to be in a faction, without having to be a part of something other than themselves. We kind of started seeing that in Austin Theory, but then they pulled the plug on him. We know why. Am I wrong for thinking this way? Am I wrong for pointing out the fact that there's way too many factions in the WWE right now? Am I wrong for pointing out that some of the top tier talent that we have, which might be justification enough, top tier talent that we have right now comes predominantly from factions? Like I said, maybe that might be justification enough in general or in the WWE to create factions. And maybe I am hypocritical because I don't completely dislike the idea of the way they're selling this new faction. I don't completely dislike the idea of having Seth Rollins, although predictable, screw over Roman Reigns and CM Punk again. I guess if you can say Seth Rollins, it was really Paul Heyman. But in an even bigger twist, team up with Bron Breakker. And it's almost predictable that they're going to be getting a new third person. So, yesterday we saw Jey Uso versus Seth Rollins. Then we saw Sami Zayn come to the ring, and he went against Bron Breakker. And then we saw one last person in CM Punk come back after losing and protect both Jey Uso and Sami Zayn. Which leads me to believe there's going to be a 3-man tag team match with Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, Bron Breakker, and who I think is Karrion Kross, because Karrion Kross has had communications on air with both Jey Uso and Sami Zayn. That is my rationale behind this. With that being said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Leave all your thoughts in the comments. Let me know how you did here in this video all by myself. Peace.